Hi, I watched the Terror and Triumph video, and I think this video really highlighted the struggles that was felt in that time, and I particularly hit emotionally due to the nature of how it was presented with those who experienced it themselves directly talking about it. Uh, it was particularly difficult to hear about how even after African Americans had fought in the war, World War II, that they had to be subjected to continued segregation, and even how white people openly talked about how they needed to put black people back in their place directly in front of them. They had just risked their lives for the country, and then they came back to a country where they had to be second-class citizens again. It didn't really make any sense then. Still doesn't make any sense now. And I personally can feel just how wrong they felt. Cause even if I'm wrong just a little bit, it it hurts pretty bad. But to risk it all, like risk your life and still be neglected and come back to segregation, it just seems very wrong. Something else, the images that were provided in the video also really made me wonder how people could be so cruel to each other. And this was a recurring theme that I seemed to see throughout the video. Like, how could you lynch someone for just trying to make a change for the better? Uh, it's You kind of wonder where their empathy was. People were killed just for leading others to vote. And it was also really enlightening overall to hear about the struggles that happened during World War II and post World War II era, because mostly you hear about the 1960s in terms of segregation and struggles of racial discrimination in the US, but hearing all this buildup that happened prior to that, I think that really sets the stage for what was to come and realistically how things didn't boil over even more for me. Particularly the story of the murder of Malcolm, Dorothy, and their pregnant wives was something that was really difficult to hear, since it's kind of unimaginable to hear something about that happening, and then the fact that no justice was ever brought to the people that did it. Um, that's something that personally it doesn't make any sense. Again, so yeah, and I guess on a more different note, it was inspiring though to hear about Barbara Jones. She was just 16 years old and then organized a school strike in secret, because if they had known then, it would have required them to put a stop to it. But doing that in that time period, where she received death threats after the fact, is courage far beyond what I think I probably ever could have mustered. But the fact that there even were threats on her as a 16-year-old, kind of ridiculous. It's like, why would you do that? But this seems to be a common theme: is how could these people disappoint me next? And I also kind of remember a quote from Lyndon Johnson. Is like, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. And I think it really emphasizes when people are put in positions of power, or even pseudo power in this case, where they think they're better than someone else, they'll often do unthinkable acts that they wouldn't have done before. It's stories like these mentioned that I've talked about today that make me realize I won't ever fully grasp what it means to be black, because even as a minority myself, it's quite different. And I know it's quite different because Asians are often seen as a model minority. I haven't had to deal with people like crossing the street to avoid me or being racially profiled in a manner that's detrimental to me. And although I'm grateful for that, it also makes me realize that there is a privilege that I have, that I can use my platform basically for those that don't have this benefit. There's still, I think, a lot to unpack, still a lot to learn, as Dr. Poston mentioned, and we've got to continue to work hard to see the other side of the coin.